Welcome everybody to another episode of super spicy speculation with the Paladins data files. This time around it's patch OB58 on the PTS, so the data files have been analysed, and both by Datamine.com, which other people have talked about, but Winter Witch has actually come through with something that is extremely interesting, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So stuff about new champions, and also about the new game mode. So coming a long time now has been a lot of data mines about the new game mode, or maybe old game mode, the old siege mode. And this time round listed is the Halloween 2017 siege map, which we heard about before. It's basically, the idea is there's some sort of gates, some sort of towers, and a final castle objective in the maps, but also listed are Triumph and Rift as two maps that could be part of this new Siege Halloween game mode. Now you might have heard this in other data mine videos, but you might not have seen is there's also a image in the data files of one of the maps they are currently working on. And actually in the PTS at the moment, on the patch notes, there was listed a map called Eastwatch. And that's maybe a reference and a bit of a joke towards Game of Thrones, as the recent episode was called Eastwatch. However, this map, Eastwatch, is almost the same as the old siege modes in Paladins. However, this map is a test map and has test textures, so a lot of the sort of grey matte textures that go onto the ground. However, partly half of the map is textured. Whether this map may be the Halloween 2017 map, that might be with the Halloween skins and things, as also listed there's an EV Halloween and a Grover Halloween likely to come, and Makoa Ghost Pirate may also be in there as well, depending on whether that's part of whatever this Halloween event is. But this map does just generally look like a big map, and there's a few things you can notice on here. Look, the old maps of the siege mode looked like this, almost exactly this shape. So there's actually three areas where you look like you can fight around. There's one at the top, which seems to have areas to move across on the top, like balconies. You fight around, and I guess the point is here right at the back, and that's probably where you're going to be fighting over. And in the old siege mode, in the old Paladins, in the alpha, you used to basically fight over one of 3 points, and I don't know whether they alternated randomly or if it was like one after another, but once you got the points, just like the current siege mode, the siege engine, it was more like a trebuchet sort of thing, would come out. Actually, no, it was more like a cannon, now that I think about it. It'd come out and it'd follow the path to the gates. Now you can actually see there's loads of paths going all around to each of the gates here. I think these are all, like the old gamer as well, a gate, and then two here, little turrets, but little sort of like they're towers with turrets. And there's two gates, like in the old game mode, you'd fight through this first gate, then to the second gate, and then finally in here somewhere there's a final, well I guess it is like a gate 2, but it used to be a vault, but now it's listed as the castle. But this does look very much like a castle from above, all of this stuff here. And both sides it's mirrored. I'm not sure where the point is on this one, maybe it's around here, maybe it's around here, but there's basically 3 points, it looks like anyway, and it looks almost exactly the same as the old game mode. It looks kind of like a sort of tweaked version of, I think it was the Temple Ruins map, the old Temple Ruins map, although I think the middle point was just open, there wasn't a sort of castle thing around it. But here, there's like almost like an archway where the siege engine is going to travel through on this side, and lots of cover around it. I know that we've had little snippets and little bits of information about the old siege mode coming back, but this is cool, because we can see it's in the test map format, there's loads of test textures. And actually it's named Eastwatch, which they put into the PTS, which maybe was a name, an error of the name. Because actually the PTS, the map's listed as Arid, although people have been saying it's a new version of Sunken City. I've tried to play it, but it's quite buggy. And if anyone activates a booster, by the way, on the PTS, it'll drop your game, and you'll get stuck in the loading screen until bots have played the full match that you should have been playing. Anyway, that aside, this looks cool, and again, it's massive, because if you zoom right in, this is a whole big gate. This is a wall where you can fight across. These are huge, like, no, not huge, but like big boulders, like almost like a cliff rather than a little boulder, and these are all individually their own points. They're almost the size of an onslaught map each one of these, and the spawns on either side are symmetrical. Actually, in the old version, you'd have walls so the enemy teams couldn't get basically into your base, and then there'd be, I think, a gate like here that would open up automatically as you walked up to it if you're an ally, and you could walk out of it. and as an enemy team you can only get into here once you've destroyed this gate, and I think everything, then you could use teleporters to get up, or you could go through this gate to get to the top. I wonder if this here is a teleporter or not, but we'll just have to see on that one. Personally, I think it's good. I mean, more variation, more options, and different ways to play the game, and this way is quite a bit more like a MOBA, and it's unique in its own way. I don't necessarily think it'll be better than the current Siege mode, just something of a different flavor. Anyway, I did quickly mention that there was some sort of Halloween-themed event that seems to be being patched together, and perhaps this is when the Siege mode, or Siege 2.0, or the old Siege mode is going to come about. And like I said, there's the Evie Grover skins that are listed as Halloween ones, although Makoa has got something of a ghost pirate skin, which could be added in there. Kness is listed as a white space hunter. Whether that's just a coloration of the most recent bounty hunting skin, I'm not too sure. Strix has got a crow skin listed. That also, crows are, you know, sometimes seen as a bit evil, so that could fit into the Halloween side as well. Also, Barracks listed to be getting a pirate skin. Again, something a bit spooky. It could be quite kind of like a ghost pirate. Who knows? That could be interesting. Maybe even separate it from a lot of people were saying, oh no, they're just going to compare Torbjorn's pirate skin to Barracks. Which, you know, maybe being a ghost pirate could maybe sidestep some of that. Also, Androxus has got a weapon listed as Shattermaw. Sounds kind of evil. That could be in there too. Something else that's super spicy is there's a new champion listed that hasn't been listed before. This is Vanguard. Although pretty much nothing is listed apart from the idea that there's bolt pistol and pistols, and in the Winter Witches Datamine, they've listed that basically whenever you have a champion, there's often other champions files in data files as they're used as like placeholders and things. So at the moment there's the AI base for Lex, and that makes sense if they have a pistol, and there's referenced Ash, Fernando, Willow, and Genos, which is kind of confusing as those are all champions that do very different things. The thing is, a Vanguard, like the first person that goes in, is often you see a Vanguard as being something quite tanky, something that can soak things up, so whether this is a tank or not, we'll only have to have that spicy speculation. Lazarus hasn't really had any changes on their files. That's the one with the mace that can self-resurrect themselves and fake death and basically resurrect yourself after 3 seconds in one of their abilities, and has that shield, and has a charge blast and rush, and has some sort of chain attacks. Churchill has got a little bit more listed, so they are listed as a human warrior now. The in-hand has projectile recoil and also affects movement speed somehow, so it could slow you down whilst firing, which is interesting. The other thing is there's some sort of shield ability, so you are receiving less damage, so some sort of self-shield, maybe something like Ruckus. Also has a turret, so another turret champion, and another ability that AoE slows or AoE pulses. Again, with the shields and the turrets, is it going to be another tank? That sounds like something of a frontliner there. Finally, on Demon, there are 4 legendary cards listed at the moment, although likely one of them will be called, because that seems to be sort of the pattern with champions. They'll have maybe 3 or 4 talents listed. Sometimes they have like 6 abilities listed, then they call several of them. But Demon, I've talked about all his cards before in a previous data mining speculation video, but now we actually have some talents. So the first one, Blood Sense, targets below 35% health are now revealed, and your ultimate charge rate is increased by 15%. So that's Telepunch on your main attack, which is kind of interesting. I guess a big part of this is the increase in the ulti charge, but also being able to reveal enemies when they're low is, I guess, a nice thing. Faustian Bargain, Rune of Travel. Rune of Travel no longer automatically activates when the duration ends if the rune is not used and the cooldown is reset. So I actually talked about this one as a normal card last time, but basically how Demon's teleportation seems to work is that you activate it, then you can move around and activate it again to sort of blip back to the place where you came from, somewhat like Eevee's wormhole. But here you can forego coming back at the end of the duration, otherwise it would just drag you back. Unlike Eevee's wormhole, which you can, if you don't, then it happens like this, but you'll get it reset, so you can just use it again, which is actually an interesting one. Then Inner Strength, Rune of Travel. Rune of Travel now resets the cooldown of Overcharge and Blitz Upper when it activates. So I don't know whether this one's a placeholder, because that one sounds like it's just a base cooldown of 2 things rather than being like a big effect. Finally, Raging Demon, Overcharge. You no longer consume ammo whilst Overcharge is active. And Overcharge was the ability that seemed to be some sort of buff or damage increase or something like that, or along those lines. Anyway, on the side of champions, not a lot has changed from last time, and seeing as in OB58 it was the first time there wasn't a champion back-to-back, so they're only doing one champion a month rather than one champion on average every 3 weeks now. So Demon's actually been in the data files for a while, because before, if you knew the cards, it was likely the champion was coming in the next patch. So not a lot has changed with Demon, and we've only found out little bits more about the other champions, and it might slow down a little bit as the champions are slowed in release too, but it's quite interesting that there's like 3 or 4 champions currently being worked on, even though they're releasing only one a month. Again, what's everybody else's spicy speculation? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Are you excited for the Siege game mode to come back if it does? I mean, as always, some of the speculation might be wrong, some of the data files pulled out might be incorrect or a little bit inaccurate, but be sure to let me know all your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more of my content, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Joshino.